All right, everybody, welcome back to Insightful Odyssey. Before we get started, if you find this deep dive insightful, make sure to like and subscribe and all that good stuff.
That's right.
And today we're going to be diving into the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah, a classic.
It was written a while back.
1997, I believe.
Yeah, 1997. So
Very sad.
we're going to see how it holds up in 2024, and we're going to be exploring the key ideas from this book, and we'll see, what we think of them today.
Yeah, it's really interesting to revisit this book now because when it first came out, it kind of sparked this whole conversation about financial literacy.
Right.
And even though it was written, like you said, before the whole age of crypto and, AI and all this kind of stuff,
Right.
the core ideas that it talks about, I think, are more relevant than ever.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And I think one of the things that it really focuses on that's, I think, the most powerful is this whole concept of assets versus liabilities.
Absolutely.
But before we jump into that, um, the book tells the story of Robert Kiyosaki and his two father figures, right?
Right.
You have the poor dad, which is his biological father, and then you have the rich dad, which was his best friend's dad.
Exactly.
And it wasn't really about, like, which dad was actually wealthier. I think it was more about their mindset.
Yeah, I think that's the crucial point here.
Right.
It's not about the actual dollar amount that each of them had. It's about their approach to money, their philosophy about money.
Right.
And I think that's where the real lessons lie.
Yeah. So poor dad, despite having a good job and education, was always struggling financially. And he kind of represented that traditional path.
Working for a paycheck.
Yeah, the 9-5 working
Yeah.
for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And then you have the rich dad,
Yeah.
who was a businessman. And he emphasized, financial independence, building assets.
Yeah, he was all about, creating wealth rather than just earning a living.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So the book uses these two contrasting figures, right, to challenge conventional wisdom about money.
And I think it did that very effectively.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So let's jump into that whole idea of assets versus liabilities, because I think that's probably the most well-known concept from this book.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that Rich Dad really hammered home the point that an asset puts money in your pocket while a liability takes money out of your pocket.
And this is such a simple idea, but it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Because it really gets to the heart of how we should be thinking about money.
Right. And it's not just about how much you make. It's about how you manage it.
It's about what you do with the money that you have.
Exactly. And that's where it gets, I think, kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Where Kiyosaki challenges the traditional view of a house as an asset.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He argues that if you're living in it and you're paying a mortgage and taxes and upkeeping, it's actually a liability.
It's costing you money.
It's taking money out of your pocket every single month.
Every single month, yeah.
So I'm curious, how does this asset versus liability concept actually change how someone would approach their finances? What does that actually look like?
Well, I think it's a pretty big mental shift for a lot of people.
Right.
Because we're so conditioned to think about certain things as, good investments, like a house.
Like a house.
But when you start to look at it through this lens of assets and liabilities, you realize that it might not actually be the best way to build wealth.
Right.
So instead of focusing on accumulating possessions, Rich Dad encourages people to focus on building a portfolio of income-generating assets.
So give me an example of an income-generating asset.
Sure. So rental properties,
Okay.
where you're collecting rent every month.
Right.
Businesses, dividend-paying stocks, things that are actually putting money into your pocket.
Okay, so it's not just about buying something that you think is going to go up in value. It's about buying something that's actually producing income.
Exactly. And that's a really important distinction.
Okay, and that kind of reminds me of another key point in the book,
Yeah.
which is the importance of financial literacy.
Oh, absolutely.
And Rich Dad criticizes the traditional education system for not adequately preparing people to manage their finances and build wealth.
I think that's a critique that a lot of people have, regardless of their political beliefs or anything like that.
Yeah, it's if you go to school, you learn all these things.
Yeah.
But personal finance is not really something that's emphasized.
No, and it's one of the most important skills you can have in life.
For sure. And this is something that, is very relevant in 2024.
Absolutely.
With all this economic uncertainty we're dealing with.
Yeah, we're in a time where the old rules of work and money are kind of being rewritten.
Right.
You think about things like cryptocurrencies, NFTs,
Yeah.
the creator economy, all these new frontiers that require a different kind of financial savvy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why that message of, taking control of your financial destiny resonates so strongly in 2024.
Yeah, it's more important than ever to be financially literate.
And so Rich Dad also talked a lot about the importance of overcoming fear and taking calculated risks.
Yes, that was a key part of his philosophy.
Right.
He believed that too many people let fear hold them back from achieving financial success.
Right. And I think that that's something that a lot of people can relate to
Oh, absolutely.
because, we're always told to be careful with our money.
Right, to play it safe.
Right.
But Rich Dad argued that sometimes you need to take risks in order to get ahead.
But calculated risks.
Yes, exactly. Calculated risks.
So how do you distinguish between a calculated risk and just like a stupid risk?
Well, I think that's where education comes in.
Okay.
You need to learn about different asset classes. You need to understand how to assess risk.
Right.
And you need to be willing to do your due diligence
Right.
before you invest in anything.
And you need to be willing to lose.
Yes, you have to be comfortable with the possibility of loss
Right.
because there's no such thing as a guaranteed return.
Okay, so to kind of wrap things up here,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways from Rich Dad, Poor Dad that our listeners can apply to their lives, especially in 2024?
So I think the most important takeaways are, first, understanding the difference between assets and liabilities.
Right.
Second, taking responsibility for your financial education.
Right.
Don't rely on the school system to teach you everything you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And third, developing the mindset of an entrepreneur and an investor.
Okay.
It's not just about working for a paycheck. It's about creating wealth.
Right, so it's really about understanding that financial freedom is achievable,
Absolutely.
but it requires a shift in thinking
Yes.
and a willingness to challenge conventional wisdom.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, this has been a fantastic discussion.
It's been a pleasure.
I always love talking about this kind of stuff.
Me too.
And, it's never too late to start learning and taking steps towards building a more secure financial future.
Right on.
So I'm curious, if Rich Dad were giving advice in 2024, what new asset classes or opportunities do you think you would be most excited about?
Oh, that's a great question.
Let us know down in the comments.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts.
And don't forget to subscribe to Insightful Odyssey for more insightful deep dives like this.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.